Oh, yeah, we're not the suits that talk football. We're the dudes that know football. And you just crossed over into the trend zone, Dave, here with Casey. And we are the football dudes. Are you ready, brother?
Uh, yeah, kind of, Dave. We ran out of games, bro. It slipped away, so I'm gonna do my best. We're professionals, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
give it the old college try.
All right. That's the signpost up ahead. Next stop, the trend zone. It is Monday, February 9th, coming at you from Los Angeles, California. It's a beautiful 61 degrees. It's a little chilly now in the evening, but what an incredibly beautiful day.
Yeah, 65 right now in the Sherm, Dave. We had a high of 77 earlier.
Yeah, it was about 74 here on the west side. All right, Case, in today's episode, we'll talk about Seahawks total domination from the dark side. Coobs is going from first to worst, and Mad Max is max angry. We'll also get into a little Survivor. And of course, we are here to review Super Bowl 60. But Casey, we can get into the trend zone without a tasty nug for the people. Please tell the people what you got.
Yeah, dude. Showing a little love to the kickers with some nugs here. Jason Myers becomes the first player, Dave, in NFL history to score 200 points,
Wow.
not in one game. That would also be a record. We're talking the season and postseason. You know why? Because he had 5 field goals in the Super Bowl, and that upped his total points to 206 for the
Wow.
season. All in all, Myers 49 field goals and 59 extra points. He stands alone as the first player ever to score 200, Dave.
Absolutely outstanding. I'm a little disappointed, though. The previous record for total points was held by my guy, LaDainian Tomlinson, who scored 198 points with 33 touchdowns in 17 games only in the 2006 2007 season and postseason. Casey, I'm a little disappointed, as I mentioned, but it's a record that I actually had no idea LT even had. Now I'm just a little disappointed, though, that he no longer holds that record.
And that was the season I went in and I drafted LJ instead of LT in that fantasy
It was
draft
a
with number
typo?
1 pick. Yeah, oh, it did not work out for me. But Dave, even though the season's over, I have a bonus nug for the people.
Excellent.
Despite the tens of people that showed up for Kid Rock's halftime special, Bad Bunny set the record for the most viewed Super Bowl halftime ever with 135.4 million viewers. It was Bad Bunny. It was Lady Gaga. It was Ricky Martin. It was a vibe. I dug every minute of it, bro. I thought it was awesome.
According to social media, not everybody loved it, Casey, but I'm going to tell you, this guy did love it. I haven't sat and watched a halftime performance like that from start to finish. I don't think ever. I swear to God, that thing was great. And all credit to the NFL for finding the most popular artist in the world and putting him on that huge stage and letting him do his thing. It was awesome.
Yeah, bonus Bad Bunny nug, Dave. His whole entirety of his set, he ran for 124 yards. New England altogether 79.
Oh
So
yeah,
Bad Bunny
I,
did a little bit of everything.
I think that streaker outran New England's offense.
Oh,
Got taken down in the third quarter there. All right, Casey, TrendZone available for subscription. That is the show you are listening to now. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcast. Casey, we'll move it on to the top trending stories that are non-Super Bowl related. But look, this one is actually pivoting off of the Super Bowl. And yeah, this one's about our guy Coobs. Moving on.
Cougs 2.0
Yep.
winning the Super Bowl just like the old man did up there in San Francisco. But now Coobs is headed to the hated ones, the Raiders. He is going to be the next head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. Pretty good situation to go to if you don't like being on the reigning Super Bowl champs. We'll go down there, have a ton of salary cap, have the number 1 overall pick in the draft, also have Tom Brady to bounce ideas off of. So there is a lot going for that, even though there's not a lot going for that.
And they still have Geno, who he did coach in Seattle as well. And when he was hired there, he said Geno was a huge sort of like a draw for him to take that gig. So there's a relationship there. Gino is actually got a fully guaranteed contract of $26.5 million. My guess is he'll be part of the mix there, and that's probably a good thing for Kubiak ultimately.
Yeah, and the way that offensive line played for the Raiders, if they don't get it dialed up, Fernando Mendoza will be destroyed by week 2 or 3. So
Right.
let Gino take those hits and ease the rook in.
Exactly. Okay, so let's move it on to the next story here in our trending stories. It is Mad Max, and he's making a bold statement after being unbelievably dedicated for his entire career to the silver and black.
Yeah, Mad Max told Tom Brady he is done with the Raiders. He says, quote, allegedly, he'll never play for the Raiders again. So I wish he would have been singing that song midway during the season when there was teams actively trying to pull him out of there
Yeah.
with the trade. That's probably still going to happen, sometime between now and the draft. But they should have been looking at doing this anyways. With the state of the team right now, it makes
Yeah.
no sense to be paying a 28-year-old pass rusher all that money.
The thing
It's
is, he
definitely
didn't want to be traded. He was
no.
very clear about that. And it ultimately seems to be that rift about sitting him for the last 2 games of the season that has really had him with his change of heart here. So,
Yeah, and obviously one of the most dominant pass rushers in the league right now. The Raiders
yeah.
are in a full rebuild.
Yep.
That's a position that's not going to help them win many games at this point. So figure out what you can do
Yeah.
to help your top 4 running back and your soon-to-be number 1 overall pick quarterback, offensive lineman. Hello.
And also, they have basically Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, and Fernando Mendoza coming on board, right?
Yep.
Other than that, yeah, everything else on that team has got to be somehow jettisoned or turned into assets so that they can build around that squad. And they have some time to do it. The
Yeah.
division is good, and they're the worst team in it. So don't do this the quick way, like Pete Carroll thought he could. Do this the way that where you build it inside out and do it
Yeah.
right.
They've got money and picks. It's going to be a good offseason for the Raiders.
Yeah, I think trying not to go crazy for that with all that money and get older players. You have to get ascending players because they're not going to be good right away. All right,
Yeah.
Casey, let's move it on. Pouring one out in the pouring one out segment. Who do
Yeah,
we
there's
have?
only 31 teams on it. The last one to get a little RIP are those New England Patriots, Dave. The valiant effort, but it just wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Just couldn't get it done.
No, sir. All right, Casey, we'll
RIP.
take a look at the Survivor's 3 strikes. Hardly anybody could have possibly made it this far into Survivor. Luckily, it's 3 strikes in our friendlier version of the Survivor picks, and we were in it. What about last week's most popular correct pick?
I'm not really a numbers guy, Dave, but I think it was just down to 2 choices.
Yes.
And the most popular correct pick were those Seahawks at 78.9%. I'm going to go ahead and round up, Dave, 79%.
Right. And last week's most popular incorrect pick
Had to be the Patriots. I'm guessing 21%.
There you go. All right. So, and of course, it did come down to me and my brother and Pesque, and it ended up he had only the Patriots to pick, and me and my brother only had the Seahawks to pick. So we ended up taking share of first place, half of first place. Making it to the entire end of the season
Well done.
is a rare circumstance. So
Yeah, and if anybody out there is wondering what Pesque looks like, just think of Nick Sirianni if he wasn't a scumbag, and then you have Matt.
That's Pesque for you. All right. Let's move it on, Casey. This is the Super Bowl. We're going to get into this thing. Super Bowl 60. Wow. I would like to say what a game, but it wasn't quite as nail biting as a lot of the games heading into the Super Bowl. This was a great playoffs, but just an absolutely dominant performance by the Super Bowl champion Seahawks.
Yeah, they blasted those Patriots 29-13. It really wasn't that close, Dave. But this is back-to-back years we've had a total ass kicking in the Super Bowl. Last year it was the Chefs. This year is the Patriots. And the common theme for both of those squads was outstanding defense.
Yep.
Last year and this year, the quarterbacks got demolished. And in this game, Dave, the Seahawks were pitching a shutout through 3 quarters. The only thing that kept New England in this is the Seattle was settling for field goals, but they were
Yeah.
still stacking points. And that turned out to build them enough lead that they eventually just put the thing away. But they were taking those points when they had them, not being foolish with it.
Right, and that was kind of a theme from us, through the season, but also through the playoffs in particular. When points are at a premium, go ahead and take the points,
Mhm.
stack those points up, and that can get you out in front. Even though it was, at the end of the third, it was only 12-0, so it felt like there was still like room for even though the Seahawks had been dominating, it still felt like there was an opportunity for the Patriots to get a couple of cheapies or something and put themselves right back in the game. But too far, too little, too late. It was ultimately as they got too far behind before they were able to hit the scoring there. It was fourth quarter before they even put any points on the board.
And even though McDonald is a young coach, he did it the old school way. Everybody's analytics say go for it on 4th and 4, this and that. He's like, no, the Seattle went for it the second least amount of fourth downs all season long. Punt when you're supposed to punt. Take the field goal when you're supposed to take the field goal. And at the end of the season, they're Super Bowl champs because of it. They didn't give other teams extra opportunities. They handled their business. And with a defense like that, why would you do it, dude?
Yeah, punt and play defense is a pretty good plan, man. And that was definitely it. But let's start from the top, Casey, about this, just to take a look at this Seahawks squad and the GM, John Schneider, how he put this thing together, the moves that he was bold enough to make. It definitely is a new era of GM. This is not your grandfather's GM that draft picks are so valuable, or keeping a guy who you have on team is so precious. Man, these guys are moving players and making things happen and rebuilding teams to perform and win Super Bowls.
Yeah, and we'll get into the coaching change in a minute there, but this guy had the sack to get rid of one of the all-time great coaches, Pete Carroll, who had brought a Super Bowl to Seattle, bring in an unproven commodity, but he identified what he wanted in his coach and got McDonald to Seattle. But it's not only that, dude. A couple years ago, they had DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They trade Metcalf in the offseason. Why? Much like CD, Lamb, and when they had Amari Cooper, they were able to get rid of Cooper so CD become who he did. And same with JSN, obviously led the NFL in receptions and yards this season. But that's a ballsy move to get rid of a cat like DK Metcalf, but he did that. They had the proven Geno Smith, who'd done pretty well there. They bring in Sam Darnold. This guy had been kicked around a lot, but he's made all these moves, and proof's in the pudding, dude.
Yeah, not to mention the in-season trades. In the past 3 years, they brought in Leonard Williams, obviously an incredibly disruptive defensive tackle, inside linebacker Ernest Jones IV. He was sort of on the outs with the Rams and the Titans, and they rejuvenated his career in this scheme that they're running there in Seattle. And obviously the trade for Rashid Shaheed along the way at the right around the trade deadline there. He had the punt return touchdown in week 16 that helped them get past the Rams and get that number 1 seed, which is so crucial for Seattle, to get to where they got ultimately and win the Super Bowl. So unbelievably pivotal moves that Schneider was able to make in season, which is, you're not just sitting back and waiting for the next draft or anything. You're constantly working the pro personnel and seeing how you can make your team get better. And that's what John Schneider does.
And he identified guys that fit the Seahawks. Like you look at a guy like Leonard Williams and Ernest Jones, they've become staples of that defense. They've become the leaders on there. And those are cats you brought in from different teams. So he's got an eye for a particular type of player and coach that he wants. And he's hit on this. And let's not forget, man, this cat traded Russell Wilson just a couple years ago and helped build this squad too. So like you said, he's not holding on to anybody just to hold on. What do I need to do to make this team better? And so far, dude, he's pushed all the right buttons, man.
No doubt about it. And, also you got to give a lot of credit. Like you said, he got rid of Pete Carroll, who's a sort of a legend over there, got the Super Bowl and everything. And he brought in Mike McDonald, uh, an up and coming young coach. And, um, then basically a lot of these players sort of thrive under that system. So it's not just bringing in the right guys like Schneider did. It's also getting them to play fast and free and getting them to be to build that confidence. So not only is it an X's and O's thing, but it's also he's building these guys up and believing in them. And he's just the first head coach ever to win the Super Bowl as his team's primary defensive play caller, which is a phenomenal achievement for Mike McDonald there. But
And
I just
he
think
sets these cats up to put them in the right position.
right,
Like
that's the
it
thing.
wasn't just if Kenneth Walker wasn't the Super Bowl MVP, you couldn't just give it to the entire defense because
Yeah, I felt like
everybody
it.
played great on it. It was a different guy making the play at a different time all through the game, and what that amounted to was just absolute bad things for the Patriots.
Yeah, speaking of that Seahawks defense, let's get into some of the stats and some of the players that really could have been part of a group of MVPs that was this Seattle defense.
Yeah, 6 sacks, 3 turnovers. Said it earlier, a shutout until the fourth quarter. I mean,
Yeah.
there was nothing. There was no yards. I don't know what Drake May ended with, but it was all slop, dude. When the game was on the
Yeah.
line, he had nothing. And like I said, it was a different guy. Derek Hall, 2 sacks and a forced fumble. Byron Murphy, he had a couple sacks, dude. Even when he wasn't getting home, DeMarcus Lawrence was creating
Big
havoc.
play.
Same with Leonard Williams. Devin Witherspoon, dude, blitzed only 21 times the entire season, had 6 on Sunday and got 4 pressures off those. And it's not only where they were blitzing him from, it was when they were doing it. He was in
They
his
had
bag last night,
identified
dude.
that the blitz was going to get home, and I think Mike McDonald having only, like you said, blitzed Witherspoon minimally throughout the course of the season, but they called more blitzes than they had all season. I think that caught the Patriots off guard, and they targeted honestly the offensive lineman. We'll get into the Patriots a little later, but they knew they had some mismatches there, and that one Witherspoon sack led to Uchenna Nwosu's 45-yard pick six, which was, a game was kind of already out of reach at that point. But if it hadn't been, that put the slam dunk on it, man. That thing, that was a heck of a play. Witherspoon, and they were getting pressure with just the front four, but they were also choosing to attack with some specialized blitzes that they had just dialed up for this game clearly, and they
Yeah.
knew they had some good stuff lined up, and they weren't going to hold back on it.
Yeah, Witherspoon had said Coach Mack had seen stuff and they identified some tells in the offensive lineman of the Patriots.
Yep.
And they had talk about film work, dude. Drake May was sacked 15 times in the 3 games leading up to this and had a couple turnovers and was lucky to not have more. And talking about it before the show, lack of a little pocket awareness, you start bringing some pressure and then you forget about all the stuff on your checklist that you need to get through to make sure that bad things don't happen. And unfortunately, at that point, it was way too late, bro.
Yeah. I mean, he was definitely feeling the pressure. And we saw, obviously more turnovers in the playoffs than, going into that game. And that's what had the Seahawks defense and coaching staff really licking their chops, knowing that they were going to be able to apply that pressure. And there was not it wasn't until garbage time, as you mentioned, that Drake May sort of found a comfort. That's because they're saying, please throw the ball 5 or 6 yards underneath. We'll make the tackle as the clock grinds out and you guys lose the Super Bowl. I mean, he really, at no point was he comfortable. Both quarterbacks struggled just with the pressures and making accurate throws. But certainly Drake May hit his 70% accuracy from the regular season playing against lesser defenses was nowhere to be found here. He was feeling the pressure and absolutely rushing things and very inaccurate all game long.
And then you flip that over. Sam Darnold, he didn't have the best game, but he
Yeah.
didn't have the big mistake, dude. He had the most turnovers of a quarterback in the regular season,
Yeah.
none in the postseason.
Yeah.
And early on in the Super Bowl, Patriots were getting home. They got a ton of pressure on him, but Sam was able, sorry, I'm getting all hyped up. I'm reliving the game, but to avoid that pressure, not turn it over, not take a sack,
Yeah.
throw the incomplete, or make the short completion to
Right.
make it manageable on second, third down. And if it didn't go well, punt it away. No big deal. The way their
Yeah.
defense was. But Sam, I thought, played a really good game for what he needed to do.
Right, and the thing he needed to do was not turn into a pumpkin. Like he simply needed to just not make a catastrophic mistake
Yeah.
and let his defense play great defense, let his running game make good plays. And like you said, when it came to passing, he was under a ton of pressure, but he held on to the football. So it was a priority for them to make sure that he was not going to be sloppy with the football, and he didn't take that many sacks. He was pretty, nifty in the pocket, and he
Yeah.
was able to deliver a couple of balls here and there. Largely there were some inaccuracy there. Obviously, he ends up 19 of 38 for 202 yards, a touchdown, but most importantly, no interceptions. Didn't turn the ball over. Didn't lose. Himself in the pass rush. He was able to, like you said, throw it away, take a sack, once in a while, make a good play downfield.
And he was just a couple plays away from putting this game away in the first
Big time.
quarter. A
Missed
second
a couple.
drive would have been an 86-yard touchdown. And then Shaheed on a deep post didn't sell the outside and kind of did it lazy.
It
And
was
then just a
underthrown a little
couple of
bit.
throws that were a little bit behind. Gonzalez had a great game for the Patriots too, but
Sure did.
we were that close from Seattle really blowing these cats out early.
It would have. I mean, if Sam was like laser sharp, if they were able to give him one more second on every snap, I mean, this could have been an absolute trouncing early on, even though it ended up not feeling close. But the number, the actual score wasn't that big of a blowout. But yeah, I mean, uh, ultimately, Sam did again what he needed to do, which was avoid the catastrophic error, make a couple of timely plays, and go according to the game plan. Stay with the plan. Don't try and be a hero.
Yeah, dude. And I think, part of the reason we're so stoked for this cat is because he's been through the fire.
Yes.
It's like it's hard not to love someone when they've done that. And I think that process, and he kind of alluded to it, that took all the ego out of him. I don't know if it was there before, but he took the humbling nature of what happened as opportunities to learn and improve. And you could see that. And last night, he doesn't give a shit that he was 19 for 38. All he cares about is being there for his teammates, and they are Super Bowl champs. And Sam is the Super Bowl champ, dude. The first player ever on his fifth team to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And, who doesn't love a redemption story, dude? And
No doubt.
came
First
through the
USC
fire
Trojan to
places.
be an NFL quarterback winning the Super Bowl. He was a draft bust for the Jets after 3 seasons. He saw ghosts on primetime TV. He was cast aside. Finally got some good coaching in San Francisco, and then obviously again in Minnesota. And to see this guy thrive here in this offensive system, even though, like you said, we said obviously he didn't have an MVP caliber game, but he played the game he needed to play to get this team the Super Bowl. And what a great, like you said, redemption story for Sam. Obviously, a California kid that we were definitely rooting for in this circumstance.
Yeah, dude. And we talk about it over and over on this show. Negative plays hurt you more than positive plays help you. Turnovers and penalties are your quickest way to lose a game. Patriots had a bunch of turnovers last night, and it's no secret that they got blowed out in part because of that.
Yeah, you lose more games than you win with plays that you make or don't make. All right, let's move it on to the dude who really had himself a game, and certainly in the absence of Charbonnet, had to carry more of a load. It was Kenneth Walker III, dude, the Super Bowl 60 MVP. Man, this guy, what a playoff for this guy, and it culminating in that Super Bowl MVP.
Totally. And early on in this game, we're like, Kenneth Walker is on fire. But you mentioned it. The whole playoffs, dude, over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Niners. More workmanlike against the Rams, but still had 60 yards and a touchdown and another 50 receiving. And then in the Super Bowl, 27 carries, 135 yards, couple receptions. Could have had close to 200 yards and a touchdown on there without that holding call that brought it back. But this dude not only played his best in the postseason, but when Charbonnet went down, you mentioned it, dude. And that was a big reason that Sam didn't have to take a lot of chances, because you could hand it off to Kenneth Walker, dude. And he made good things happen time and time again.
No doubt about it, dude. I mean, what a phenomenal game. Ultimately, he was the stabilizing force that the Patriots didn't have at all, and the Seahawks did. You know, there wasn't anything consistent, like we mentioned, for Sam Darnold throwing the ball. There was no pocket. So what did work? And it was running the football, blocking for just enough yards. He was so patient behind that offensive line, waiting for things to break, just tiptoeing back and forth. Bam! Then he would burst through the hole. I mean, it was just a fun performance to see him able to accumulate those yards and move the chains, and just sort of it enabled the Seahawks to sort of control the game ultimately, even though they had to settle for threes over and over again. But it felt like they were just dominating because of Kenneth Walker's performance.
Yeah, and just those sustained drives, the physicality that wore down that Patriots defense.
Yes.
You know, it's a 60-minute fight, but they kept sustaining drives, getting first downs, keeping the clock going, settling for 3, but it's the damage inflicted because of those drives. And I just love the physical nature with which the Seahawks played on offense. It kind of matched what they were doing on defense. So stoked to see it. And we finally saw, you know, a running back as a Super Bowl MVP, the first time since TD for the Broncos a long time ago. But Dave, ironically enough, had the Seahawks given the ball to beast mode in Super Bowl 49, it would have been back-to-back Super Bowl wins, and then it would be back-to-back Super Bowl MVP running backs for the Seahawks. Dude.
Wow. Yeah, no kidding, man. Just don't throw it. What could go wrong? Hand it to beast mode, right? But yeah, this was, you know, just a phenomenal performance. And ultimately, it was the one thing that the Seahawks offense could really hitch their wagon to all game long. They kept going. It was like you said, those 3 and 4 yard rushes or 5 or 6 yard rushes became 7 or 8 yard rushes. They were able to sort of just jab, 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 and ultimately, I don't remember the exact time of possession disparity here, but they controlled the game and controlled the clock, and were able to move the chains. There were hardly, you know, any first downs for the Patriots, and it was mostly just the Seahawks offense sort of controlling that game with that steady run game from Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, and the Patriots made a point they weren't going to let Jackson Smith and Jigba beat him. He had just 4 catches for 27 yards, hurt the ankle, and then looked like he might have been concussed there too. He did come back. He did have a big catch in the third quarter to start the Seahawks opening drive, but just the attention alone that he took in that game opened up other stuff, not only for the running game, but for other receivers for the Seahawks.
Yeah, without a doubt, Smith and Jigma, I mean, on the season, 119 passes, almost 1,800 yards and 10 touchdowns. Certainly, even in the postseason leading up, 17 receptions for 199 yards and 2 scores along the way there. So you're right. The Patriots and Vrabel were basically saying, we're not going to get beat by Smith and Jigba. No way, shape, or form. And that did open it up for other guys. I saw A.J. Barner with a couple of big plays, including the touchdown that really broke the game open, that got him to 19-0. That was a really well-designed play. But also our former Los Angeles Ram and a former Super Bowl MVP himself, Cooper Kupp, with a really nice contribution in this game.
Yeah, he ended up with 6 for 61, but a couple big catches, moving the chains on a couple third downs. They're keeping drives alive. So just a well-oiled machine on offense. Didn't get all the TDs they want, but got points when they had to have them, and it was more than enough.
No doubt. And Cup is going to be in Seattle. He's not the Super Bowl MVP that he was a handful of years ago, but he's still a very very trustworthy, smart receiver, and he's going to make big plays for you all along the way. Two
Oh
more
yeah,
seasons.
and the influence he's had on JSN all this year. You asked
Yeah,
JSN, he said Cup is a huge reason
consummate
why he
pro.
had the season he did.
All right, let's move it on to the other side of the field, Casey, with New England. And obviously, we've alluded to it, but Drake May really struggled in this football game. Not all on him, obviously, but he certainly, when you're the quarterback, you're the focal point, and he did have a tough game.
Yeah, not only the quarterback, second in the MVP running for the whole
Yeah,
league, but we mentioned it a couple times. Shutout for the first 3 quarters, 3 turnovers, sacked 6 times. It wasn't all on him. The line for the Patriots was atrocious.
yeah,
Didn't have any type of run game to lean on at all. Henderson and Stevenson, 42 yards on 13 carries between them. You mix that with some poor pass blocking. They had him throwing 43 times, Dave. That's a recipe for disaster
yeah.
against that Seahawks defense, especially how they amped up the blitzing and then just getting home with 4 players. He was under duress. They say he took a pain-killing shot for the shoulder, but probably took one after the game too. But
I was going to say
was,
preemptively a good
yeah,
idea.
he had no chance last night. And then when there were plays to be made, he just kind of missed it. And once you start worrying about that pressure so much, a lot of your fundamentals go out the window, and that happened last night. And it's still a young dude.
No doubt about it. I mean, he's obviously, like they said, Marino was the other guy that was in the similar circumstances. He never made it back. He thought he'd make it back over and over again. Not that I'm, trying to like this is dark and foreboding, but obviously it was a struggle for him. The pass rush was at him over and over again every single time he went back there. Never found his rhythm. Didn't have a running game to lean on at all. And ultimately, we look at the numbers there, almost 300 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Most of that was when they were already pretty much out
Yeah.
of the game. A little had a little bit of momentum going, and then he threw a catastrophic pick that sort of signaled, okay, this, the magical, like Patriots comeback is not going to happen here. And then, throughout the fourth quarter where they put up the 13 points, the Seahawks defense was like ready to go ahead and give them a 5-yard catch or a 7-yard catch and make the tackle so that the clock kept running. May also in the season and in the playoffs used his legs very effectively to get out of the pocket and make some big plays. In this game, he did have 5 for 37 yards, but that ultimately was a non-factor in this football game. The Patriots were able to put so much pressure on him that he lost more sack yards, I'm sure, than he gained by rushing those 5 rushes for 37 yards. It just he just was.
There was nothing to go to.
Overwhelmed.
There was not one thing that say, "Hey, well, at least we can get this."
No, they
just
didn't have it.
with the poor play from the offensive line, and besides a couple Mac Hollins plays, there wasn't a lot in the pass game. He didn't have time, couldn't run. It was just a recipe for disaster against what was the best defense in the league all year long.
Yeah, and unfortunately, left tackle Will Campbell, who did not comment to reporters after the game, he took it pretty hard, and rightfully so. I mean, he had a poor game, gave up 14 pressures according to Next Gen Stats in that Super Bowl. That's more pressures than any offensive lineman has allowed in any game all season long or the postseason. So he was the 4th overall pick in the draft. He's a rookie. Obviously, most of his career is in front of him, and there's probably a lot of growth. He needs to use this experience here to fuel him to become a better player. But he was just absolutely targeted again and again as the guy that they were going to get off balance. They were bull rushing him right back into the quarterback. They were doing stunts around him with the blitzes. It was.
But if you know that, then let's start chipping this cat coming from that side.
Yeah.
If you know you're going to struggle there, you got to anticipate that. That's why, like, Josh McDaniels should have had something to try to counteract some of that pressure, but it looked like he was all out of ideas and didn't try anything either. So Just a bad
I think
night.
they didn't, they didn't expect the Seahawks to blitz as much as they did, and those blitzes worked.
Oh
And
yeah.
also, they didn't expect the mismatch of just the regular front four and Campbell just unable to.
But as a coaching staff, don't you say, okay, what are our worst case
Right.
scenarios?
What's the
You
counter
know?
plan if this
Oh,
doesn't work out how we were hoping?
yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have that. You're right. So McDaniels should have had something else up his sleeve, a running back out there, a tight end, whatever, to help Will
Mhm.
Campbell out. Okay, so let's move off of the Super Bowl into the off season here, and man, this Seahawks squad has got some players that are significant contributors that they're going to need to resign.
Yeah, starting off with the Super Bowl MVP, Kenneth Walker III, um, showed his worth coming into the postseason and definitely in the postseason and definitely in the Super Bowl there. Running backs are starting to reemerge as a necessary go-to there. It seems like they'll be able to find that sweet spot. I don't know if you let a cat like this go. Obviously, can't have top market, but maybe Seahawks give a little more than they want to. Maybe he takes a little less than he wants to, and
Right,
find the situation that works for both of them. Rashid Shaheed, too, a key component coming off of the midseason, the trade deadline had a huge impact on this game too. I'm starting to see kind of what he could do in the receiving game as well. Had a couple big catches
right,
in the NFC Championship against the Rams and stuff. Tariq Woolen, dude, cornerback there. He's a major player for these guys as well. Kobe Bryant, Boye Mafe. So there are a lot of pieces here. That's a problem when you make the Super Bowl. All the eyes are on you, and people start taking some of these guys and giving them more than you can to keep them at these positions. But there'll be some choices to be made on some of these players, and some will
well,
stick around, but some will fly the nest.
yeah, and also though we talked about John Schneider. It's a sign of a good GM that there are these type of players that you're not trapped by anybody
Mhm.
that has a dud contract. For example, the Seahawks actually have the sixth most salary
Oh,
heading into the offseason with over 73 million money. So you can allocate that money. They're flexible in this
yeah,
situation. Which one of these guys do they value more than another one? And another team can take one of these players, and we'll see what the Seahawks, whether they want to match it or not. It looks like they'll have the money to do so in certain circumstances here. And if they lose some of these guys to big contracts, then that just helps them in the compensatory pick formula overall. So it is a good situation that they're in. Yes, some of these guys, I'm pretty sure, would like to remain on the Seahawks. So
yeah,
you also have the potential to get a little better deal. Yeah, some of them are going to fly away for the money, but the Seahawks do have some money. So if you want to take it a little bit less, but stay on a Super Bowl caliber football team, that I think that they're in a great situation here with the free agents. These guys, they got to want to come back, right? Let's
yeah,
see what
dude. And
give it another
Ivar's
go.
Fish and Chips is right down the street from the stadium. Why would you want to bail when that is right there?
It's
Delicious.
delicious, delicious. All right, on the other side, right, the Patriots also have a handful of dudes that they're going to want to bring back. Now, the Patriots were the team that spent the most money in last season's free agency period. It obviously paid off for them to the tune of getting to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, they fell one game shy of their goal there, but they did a fantastic job last year, and here they are with a handful of dudes that are going to be available.
Yeah, Clavon Chason. This was the guy that the Cowboys were expected to pick until CD fell into their laps just a few years ago. He played pretty good football throughout the season for them. Jalen Hawkins, he was the team's leading tackler. Austin Hooper, a kind of serviceable tight end. They have other Hunter Henry there too. So I don't see a lot of names here of guys that they have to necessarily keep.
Right.
So we'll see what happens with the cap going up and having a little room, and maybe they have some tough situations of other guys they are going to just cut bait on. But as far as unrestricted free agents, not a lot of damage here for the Patriots.
Yeah, and the Patriots are actually 11th in sacks salary cap space, excuse me, going into next year with $42.7 million in cap space. So they're not in a bad situation at all, too. Those names on there, they can re-sign the ones that they want to bring back,
Yeah.
and also probably go out and grab some more guys on the outside and bring them in. Obviously, it's going to be an attractive spot. Vrabel there, Drake May there. So,
Look
it's
what
going to
the
be,
Bears did this offseason, going out and getting tuning those cats,
yeah.
solidifying that offensive line, the
Yep.
jump from what the Bears did last year to what they did this year. You get Drake May some more protection. I'm not sure what the long-term answer for Campbell is. You got to give him some time. He's,
Sure. Fourth
obviously a
overall
young
pick.
dude, but fortify that offensive line, get a big-time receiver, even though they have serviceable guys and they have Diggs. I don't know that any of those cats really scare you,
Right.
but there's a lot of pieces there. And hey, it's not they had 4 wins last year and they're the AFC champs this year. So it's
Yeah.
not all doom and gloom for the Patriots.
Not at all. They're in great shape, Casey. So it's going to be an exciting offseason. We're just getting started here. Peeking ahead, though, to next year. Well, let's peek back first before this year. It was the Seahawks entering the season as long shots to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, both these teams, dude, 60-1 odds. That's why we love the NFL, dude, is because every year you really do have an opportunity to
Yeah.
get to the playoffs. So many teams
Hope.
jumped in this season that didn't. And, 60-1 long shots on both sides. That means anybody can do it, dude. Only one team's ever entered with longer odds, and that was
Yeah.
the 1999 St. Louis Rams, 150-1 when they brought
Woo-hoo-hoo.
in the grocery sacker Kurt Warner, dude.
Yeah.
And we know how that goes. Ironically, tied to the Chargers that preseason as well, that kind of set them on that magical run. But
Yeah.
dude, it used to be like you had to build a team. It was a 4, 5, 6 year process. It's not like that anymore, dude.
Right.
You got your quarterback, you got to make it happen as soon as possible. And you F all them picks, you get it going early and try to make the move.
Yeah, and we can see in when we look at the champions here, the Seahawks, that we can see how, and the Patriots, even the AFC champions, we can see how easily it is achieved, and then you look at the other end of the spectrum and realize how difficult it can be
Oh,
to
like
get.
the 30-year drought for my Cowboys?
I was thinking of the Jets, Casey, but
Okay. Right. Hey, but Jets had 2 of their top picks in the Super Bowl. Leonard
that's right.
Williams and Sam Darnold are both Super Bowl champs. Thank you, New York.
Yeah. All right. Move also to looking ahead towards Super Bowl 61 next year. Super Bowl. We've got some favorites already identified in Vegas.
Yeah, the Rams and the Seahawks. They were the 2 favorites going into the postseason.
Yeah.
They're the 2 favorites going into next year at 950. The Bills are the highest ranked AFC team odd-wise. And then right behind them, the Eagles, the Patriots, Ravens. And then you follow them with the Packers, Lions, Chargers, and Chiefs rounding out the top 10. Dave,
Interesting.
you just threw the Jets under the bus, but it's the Cards and the Dolphins that are both 25,000.
Jeez, 25,000 to 1. Wow.
Oh, and Dave, speaking of Super Bowl 61, it is scheduled to take place on Sunday, February 14th. You no longer being a bachelor yourself,
No.
that is also Valentine's Day. So
Yes.
I'm sure that's going to go over well in households across the country. What, loving couple doesn't want to spend Valentine's Day watching the Super Bowl, but I
But
have a big but, Dave.
yes, of course.
The bright spot to all that is the following Monday will finally be a national holiday. Some people call it President's Day. I like to call it Super Bowl Hangover Celebration Monday. It's finally happening, Dave.
It's unbelievable. We've been waiting for this forever, for them to sync these things up. Super Bowl Sunday, followed by President's Day, National Holiday Monday.
Super Bowl 61, Cowboys Chargers. Man.
Let's do it. And we get the next day off. It's
Yes.
unbelievable. It's hard to believe.
We're all undefeated, Dave. That's the only good news about the Super Bowl being over. And, the drought used to feel so long. but we obviously have the combine coming up.
Yep.
Free agency, I think, is 28 days away.
Free agency, March 11th. The combine is in February. We've got the draft in late April. I mean, the NFL does an amazing job scheduling calendars. Let's not forget a little spring football, sprinkle in a little UFL into there. Some of those guys are going to end up on NFL squads. It's just, football.
Yeah.
It's a
If you need
year-round
something to
deal.
get you there, we still have a little Winter Olympics. We also have some World Cup action
Yep.
this summer. We're hosting here in LA at the SoFi. So lots of stuff to get us there, Dave. It's going to be right upon us before you know it.
Woo! Oh yeah. Well, that is going to do it, folks, for the NFL season, for Super Bowl 60 recap here. So many ways to check out the football dudes. The Trend Zone is now available for subscription: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts.
Go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Instagram and Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at Football Dudes LA, and make sure you tag us across all social media platforms. Dave, here's to you, my brother. What a great season. We did it. We did it.
Fantastic, man. It officially slipped away. Go to footballdudes.com for all of that stuff all in one spot. And that is going to do it for this episode of the Football Dudes. We will see you guys for our free agency frenzy episode as we cover the free agency experience. We're not the suits that talk football. We're the dudes that know football. For Casey, I am Dave, and we are out of here.